start
So,
recording.
okay, so we should be on?
Wait, it'll probably pop up here in a second. Okay, which goes right to, yep, we should be good.
Okay, we should be good. We should be here, you
Okay.
guys. I hope we're here. Oh, here we are. Here, I found us. Hi.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, I found us.
I got a notification for us.
Wow,
That's insane.
We both got a notification, everybody. I hope everybody else did too.
Yes, and let's see, who will be first?
Who shall
The first shall be last, and the last shall be first.
And the last shall be, oh, Golf Guy 23, you saved me from...
Candace.
Oh, I am so glad we could do something for you, Golf Guy. Hi, Robbie. Hi, KK. Good to see you. Hi, guys.
Hidden Nugget. Good to see ya.
I like it. I like my fun names.
Yeah, that's a great name.
That's
Hidden
a
Nugget.
really good name. So, yeah, we got some good stuff coming up tonight. Really, really wonky stuff. You guys definitely don't want to miss this. Just hang out. And John and Jen, hi. Good to see you guys. Thanks for showing up.
Christine,
you guys don't want to miss it. Don't want to miss it. This is a good one. And so many things tying together right before the 19th. Dun, 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 dun.
Tartarian Vagabond. Love that name. Great name.
Yes, Miss Sonia. Hi, Miss Sonia. Hi, Miss Sonia. Beautiful soul, right back at ya.
From
Greetings
beautiful Portugal.
Portugal. Hooray.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, boy, I'd love to go to Portugal and Spain, and hopefully do a lot of traveling in saner times. That will be coming, but I think we got a crazy period of time to get through. Absolutely.
We do. So we're going to have some wonderful energy at the end of the show. So please always stick around for the end. That's wonderful to have everyone here to gather the energy and send positive vibes out there.
Heidi James, Emperor Rex. Great to see you guys too.
Thanks for coming, you guys. We appreciate it. The more the merrier. This is good.
Porto, the old city. Man, I come alive going through places like that. Absolutely love it. Can't wait. Come visit Western North Carolina soon.
Okay.
Well, yeah, it is actually on the agenda.
Israel, hi.
There's Israel. Good to see you.
Yes, it's on the agenda, and it's up to Sita. She kind of decides things.
Yes, we definitely are planning a southeastern U.S. little road trip by spring, possibly still winter. Hitting a few areas. We do have some friends that we have to see for certain reasons within certain time frames, and we will let you guys know.
Yep. We sure will.
Yeah, maybe we
certainly will.
We could all meet and go get an organic coffee somewhere.
Yeah, it's up to Sita. Everything's up to Sita. So.
Yep, she is putting her head there. So, as always, guys, want to thank everybody for their support over at Patreon and also with YouTube members. I don't know if I shared or not, but we got notification from YouTube that basically we are in the top 20% of channels, both EEARTS and Evolutionary separately, as far as the amount of work we do, the amount of videos that we do. So yeah, and that's also with having 3 channels that we try to keep up with. So yeah, we try to keep you guys informed with everything we possibly could. That's why we're here.
Yes, that's why we are here. And I just want to say, ask you guys for continued prayers, please, for Steve and Lori and some of our EEARTS family members are helping them, and they're having a really difficult time, Steve and Lori. So keep them in your prayers, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Gosh, there's just so much going on. This is just saying again, how much have you seen coverage of the flooding going on in Washington? Not just Washington, also even over in Montana, Oregon. It's massive. And there's something else going on energetically as well. We have friends in the area that just feel there's some sort of frequency out there that doesn't feel good, doesn't feel right.
On the things that have happened here recently, and then tying it together with some of the more sensitive people I know, something really odd is going on in this area, and we're trying to pick it apart. We're going to take a look, pick it apart, see what you guys think, and definitely get some prayers sent out there. This new moon that we are having, and I do Vedic astrology, and the new moon we're having in Sagittarius, I think it's going to bring about a lot of disclosure. I really, really do. And it just happens to be right when Three Eye Atlas is making its closest approach. Isn't that interesting?
Oh, it is. And I wouldn't be surprised if some strange, unusual events happen between the 19th and 21st. Again, the winter solstice, that's a powerful day. It's a powerful day, powerful season. And we know the forces of love and light, and then the forces of darkness and division. We make note of these times to create positive ripples, and the dark side of the force makes note of these times in order to do their thing as well.
Wow, Heidi, so people are going north to get sunlight. That's really weird. Yes, a lot of fog, and we can blame that on Saturn and Neptune are actually traveling together. And when you have those two together, you actually have a lot of fog. And that's been happening from coast to coast. A lot of really strange fog. Go figure.
Oh, yeah. It's like a horror movie with the fog. Meanwhile, we have a White River levee breach prompts evacuation order for the city of Pacific, Washington. Again, there's been evacuations in certain areas. In a few areas, things have calmed down a little bit, but the long-term news is this atmospheric river is going to continue. And the long-term changes, what's it going to look like? What is it really going to look like? Because, again, as we've been talking, we were sharing before that back, if you remember way back, like in the 80s, there was a lot of talk about mini ice age coming in. Then everything was about global warming, and we're all going to melt away, and all these predictions from Al Gore and others that, the poles are going to totally melt, and you better get 400 miles inland before you're flooded away. It didn't happen. It didn't happen, but we do have chaos. We do have crazy storms. We do have extremes, and it seems like records are always breaking.
And we have a question here. Miss Sonia says, what's the best resource to initiate the study of the Kali Yuga? And you know what? The best resource is us. No, I'm kidding. Mike knows.
Again, there's a lot of different sources you could look at, and it can get confusing if you go back to mainstream views on the Yugas. They're going to start talking in millions of years. I think Sri Yugaswar, he did a small book. It's, I think, less than 100 pages or maybe right around 100 pages. He was the guru, again, of autobiography of a yogi's writer, and one of the most famous yogis in the Western world. But he was his guru, and we have his book. It wouldn't take you long to read it. Although I do think his timeline was off a little bit from the information that we've gotten from the guides. I think this is part of the problem, is that when you go looking into books and things like that, where we're at now is, I think, some of the best information is coming from legitimate channels.
Well,
legitimate channels that are not channeling FBI, CIA, MI6.
Well, I think there's yugas inside of yugas, and this is what's going on now. So like in this big yuga that we're in, there's little smaller yugas, and I was going to get more information on that too. But Sonia, it is such an interesting topic, and we're in interesting times where I'm so glad to see people are asking questions like this. This is what we need, and keep asking, please. Look, expand your horizons, look and poke, and ultimately you're going to find the answer as long as you keep looking.
Yeah, so this is Sri Yugaswar, and I would definitely recommend his work. He was just an amazing person. And he was the teacher of Paramahamsa Yogananda, who, was his, known as like the key or one of the key people to bringing the whole science of the Vedic, wisdom to the West. His book, The Holy Science, remains his only published work, and it's central to the teachings of the Self-Realization Fellowship. This is part of, the big reveal. When in the Bible, you get that little I am that I am. I am is self-realization, and that's really what they're talking about here. It's all about consciousness, and it's all about the journey of consciousness through all these crazy human things we go through, and we're not always humans is part of another big reveal. It's like all coming out in little dribs and drabs, bits and pieces from movies like Avatar and The Matrix, and looking back to our history when you look at Lord of the Rings and all those type of movies that are again showing us what it was like in the last Bronze Age. And into the Kali Yuga. So it's pretty wild, but yeah, I would start there. The Holy Science by Sri Yugaswara.
So, back-to-back atmospheric rivers, and we have family members that are dealing with this, and they feel the energy, and something just is not right. And then the stuff that we have pulled together today, oh my gosh, is this what's going to be happening across the globe? I think it might. So this just little tidbits of information piecemealed together, making and nothing is all in one place. So all the information we have, we had to go out and find it and search it. So
yeah, I love that, Susan Donahue. Popeye, I am what I am, and that's all that I am.
Yes. Nice.
Yes.
Rick Downing, good to see you. Sorry, sweetie, go ahead.
Renee Matthews, we have had lives on other planetary systems. Absolutely. And some do venture out to other planetary systems when you are in the dream realm. Dreams are definitely becoming way more vivid, way more memorable. It's because, we're in a new yuga. This is why. We're in a new age. And, again, that term, a new age, is even biblical, even though it can also terrify some people.
Indeed, it can.
And Lee, good to see you. 99 Alpha Waquane, good to see you as well. And Diana's in the house too.
Yes.
Awesome to see all you guys. Rick, good to see you too.
Yes, good to see everyone here. It looks like we got a good, nice full house here.
So, more rain, another 4 to 8 inches coming in across western Oregon. It's going to be one of those time periods. I do think, again, all this water adds to the weight, obviously, and adds to, in my mind, does it add to the likelihood of a bigger earthquake? I would say so. I would think it would have to factor in.
Just so much of it out here, and it really feels endless. And if it's not the water, it's something else. It's a little earthquake here, a levee break there.
Yeah, and you can see here, this is showing that atmospheric river that's just making its way, and it's burying so much in deep, deep water. Oh, we talked about the little black rock, which may not be so little, that's up at the the North Pole. Is it, in fact, the North Pole? We got some channeled information, which we shared on, again, Patreon and on the memberships about that. And we're getting a lot of information in on a more regular basis because we are in a very key time right now. And, the guides were talking the last couple nights, and it was weird the way they were mentioning that we have to make space in our reality for other beings that are not Homo sapiens sapiens. That's a big one. In other words, yes, we are on a timeline where we are going to get disclosure, whether the control system wants to acknowledge it or not. They're not the ones in control of that, because there's so many beings watching us right now that, you know, there's a lot of them that seem to be a little bit more purposefully showing themselves.
And on an individual basis too. I think overall, I feel there's probably more sightings.
Oh yeah, I think there's a lot more. So we had freeze warnings. We did wake up to I think it was 22, somewhere around that the other morning. You know, in Louisiana and Georgia, Texas, even Florida, very unusual cold weather when you get these swings that could be 20 degrees colder than normal. It certainly can mess with food production. And it always makes me think, you know, if you wanted to, again, control a population, one of the things you do is control the food supply. And that's obviously been going on. That's been a prime directive of the control system is, again, controlling the food supply. Everything that you see from, you know, what's going on in France and the UK and all over, all this is making it tougher for people to manage their budgets. We're not at the point in time yet where there's just out and out massive shortages, thankfully. And in this world, we should never have those type of shortages. It's, in my mind, that's not a natural thing. I think it's artificially induced.
No, it's not nice. It's not nice at all because it doesn't need to be that way. And the shortages that we have are so extremely deliberate. And then the food, you know, it shouldn't be as expensive as it is. I mean, we've changed the way we eat, you know, because of the way how expensive the food is. You know, you can't take away quality, so we adjusted our quantity, and what are you going to do, you know?
But at the same time, it's an all new paradigm in the Bronze Age. So I do think our bodies are changing. We've gotten that the very ether from which all the elements come, the ether gives birth to the elements that give us all that we see. And yet it's holographic. Yeah, that's true. And it's an agreed upon illusion of sorts, but at the same time, it's very real when you're in it. And that's the whole point, because it takes that for us to learn the lessons that we come here to learn and to really have the rich experiences and sometimes very, very challenging experiences.
Well, I think it can be a little bit frightening to say, oh, it's just an illusion, because the feelings and stuff that we have are very, very real. But the word illusion doesn't take away from the reality of it. It's just that word illusion kind of makes one feel that maybe it's not real, but it is so very real.
Yeah, absolutely. Nina's in the house. Good to see you, Nina.
Oh, good. Hi, Nina.
KK almost got knocked off her feet by the wind.
Poor
that is
thing.
Scary, definitely. And as Raymond says, yeah, learn that the majority of us don't need to eat 3 meals a day. No, it's, you know, about 5 o'clock is when I had my first solid food today, you know. But the weird part is I'm actually gaining some weight with just basically having one meal and a protein shake. So it's odd because I don't think I should actually be gaining weight per se, but I think it's good weight. So I do think, again, it's not as simple as what they've always told us. You know, calories in, calories out, that whole thing, especially in the changing of the Yugas. I think there's a lot more to keep in mind. This is talking about record snow, winds, and blizzards leaving over 35,000 homes without power in Hokkaido. This is the northern island of Japan. Actually, it's also, you know, very close to where we had all that quake activity. And, you know, I do hope we could get through the winter without any major disruptions. But the guides were coming through saying that they do, the control system, the dark matrix controllers, do have some major disruptions in mind for the winter. And, you know, again, will they be able to manifest them? That's the question. Because the more people wake up, the more people are putting out there intention and energies that we're heading towards a more peaceful time, a more loving time, a more compassionate time, and a much more aware time. We really, we short circuit their plans. So this is a wonderful thing. We have to recognize the strength we have as a group. The more we can come together and say, you know, no, we do not intend to take part in this divisive system. We're going to support each other. We're going to do our best to help each other. And then that really does throw a big wrench into their plans.
Mm-hmm. It does. And we have a true Gemma sighting. Great to see you. Glad you are here. Yes, thoughts are things.
Thoughts are things, you know, and Martine665 says, I'll be dead soon. So that means if that is the case, that you're just going to wake up to a new reality soon.
You go again.
That's it. You know, death is birth. Birth is death. It's almost, well, I guess we could view it as an endless cycle. Yeah. Until, you know, the soul says, yeah, you know, I want to just go back to a state of perfect oneness and peace.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
Yeah, you know, Chris says too, one meal seems to be a new norm. I think a lot of people, I wonder if it's just in our circle. I mean, just the people that are more intuitive, you know, on the ascension path, just realizing, yeah, less is more at this time.
It's true, but it's really hard to do when, you know, you got so many yummy Christmas cookies all around.
She's a naughty little girl. So.
I want Christmas cookies. I'm looking for some Christmas cookies. They're good.
Yes, we will, Sonia, make more videos about foods, tea, supplements, smoothies, you know, exercise, everything. That's been such a big part of my life, all my life. I've always been a workout fanatic, exercise junkie, and always cared about what I put in the body. So, yeah, we plan on doing a lot more of that on Evolutionary and sharing a lot more how-tos.
Yeah, lots of people in here eating once a day. I think, you know, if I try to eat breakfast, which Mike makes the best food, so it's hard around here, but because of the food he makes is so good. But if I eat breakfast, I'm just done for. I'm done for, and that makes me sad because the food is so yummy. But you know, you gotta stay awake and moving, and as long as I stick with one meal a day, my energy is pretty good.
Yeah, and interesting you guys are mentioning chia. Chia is amazing. It really is an amazing superfood, and I think it can help with many different things, but especially maintaining a positive microbiome balance. It's great for that. So here you see earthquake swarm strikes California for fourth day. Well, there's swarms every day, all the time in California. This is saying the officials warned 72% chance of the big one hitting. Yeah, we've seen that a million times. I think our consciousness matters. Putting out positive intentions and positive, you could say prayer or visualization, whatever you're comfortable with terming it. Yeah, at the same time, it does feel like we are very close to major events. And we'll take a peek at the USGS while we're here. Oh, look what we just had.
Oh, looky here.
Well, it's only a 5.0. It looked big because today was actually pretty quiet overall.
Mm-hmm. Well, in you know, these areas, it's I don't know. I think things are changing. The ether is changing. The planets are doing planetary things, and we should really keep an eye out. I think this winter, the information that I got, it was something going on in the winter. And last night I was looking around and I could see more clearly how the other entities that are, you know, outside of our visual spectrum, they are watching. They're here. They're watching to see how humans behave and interact. And I do believe there's something been done with that treaty where they can start showing themselves now, and some are going to, and they are.
Yeah, so, you know, that's the first time she told me of something might have been done with the treaty. So that's good. This is how the information comes in bits and pieces, sometimes a lot at once. But yeah, so Cindy's been channeling a lot in the middle of the night, literally between like 1 and 3 a.m. There's been a lot of info coming by. They did say, and I thought it was really wild the way they worded it, that we all need to make space in our reality for other beings that are not like us to make themselves known.
Yeah, things are going to be changing. And, you know, what does that look like? It's going to look different for each and every individual. You know, how do you make space for this? Well, I think, you know, we have to take a look at our belief systems and what we believe inside. And, you know, it's kind of a frightening concept when you really sit down and sit with it.
Sterling was sick, almost went from 180 down to 120, almost died, now building muscle up to 150. Well, I'm glad you're on the upswing and feeling better. Daily exercise is a key. Eating healthy is a key. You know, the body is going to be more powerful in this age as far as healing itself. You know, I really think we probably don't have a clue as to what's possible, but I do think we could heal ourselves from almost anything, really. And this is part of the knowledge that's been kept away from humans in the programming of, well, you have something that's incurable. We know firsthand people that were told that, and they're alive like 10, 20 years later. And they were told they weren't going to make it, you know, 2, 3, 4 months. And they're doing better than ever.
Mm-hmm. And they really are. And yeah, when you yo-yo like that, you really have to watch the nutrients. And then when that weight comes down, your body's getting rid of toxins. It can kind of throw the hormones way out of balance. So go easy on yourself.
Yes, absolutely. So what we see is, you know, at this point in time, 252 quakes being listed. It looks kind of typical in reality. The biggest quake is a 5.3. That is this one over here at the moment. Well, no, that's the 5.0. 5.3 was Solomon Islands. Okay, over here. So, you know, this doesn't look unusual at all. It looks relatively active, but it's, you know, displaced in a pretty normal way. So that wouldn't be anything at the moment, but, you know, it could change quickly. Here you go. This one was pretty interesting. Simultaneous sighting. Unidentified luminous object surprises people in the skies of Cartagena and Bogota, Colombia. Witnesses in the tourism sector of El Laguito recorded a slow-moving aerial phenomenon with unusual light, which coincides with similar reports in the Colombian capital, without authorities having given any sort of explanation. Unidentified luminous object flew over the sky of Cartagena on Thursday the 11th, capturing the attention of witnesses in the El Laguito sector. Those present who initially thought of a conventional aircraft described an unusually slow and almost static movement, with one unusual lighting that moved from east to west. The event was recorded by several different people on their cell phones. It reactivated the public debate on unexplained aerial phenomena, UAPs. You know, it's pretty wild what we're seeing around the world. And, you know, it's nice in that you have so many people that can just whip out their phone and get like a dozen people to record the exact same thing at the exact same time. So then you know it's not inserted later. But what is it is the question. Is it one of ours, or is it non-terrestrial in origin, or is it terrestrial but not homo sapiens, not human?
I feel strongly this one's a portal. This one is I don't think it's our technology, but that's not to say we don't have technology like that. But this one is different. This one really stuck out to me, and this is one of the ones I was talking about that could change a lot of landscape here on the planet. This is a thing. So I don't know. I'm just gonna watch and see how this unfolds and see if anything new comes of it after this.
Yeah, we always feel into the energy. That's the first thing we do when we see something. We feel into it and we try to sort. Is this, reptilian? Is this gray? Is this, our military Does it feel more like a higher density plasma being? What's the energy behind it is the first question that we ask.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of, you do have to be very careful of things in the sky. We went through some things in Mississippi, and we were exposed to some really nasty stuff from things in the sky. So hopefully all these folks are okay from it.
Yeah, especially when it's static there and watching, just watching. And here you go, another view. It's throwing off a little halo.
Halo, radiation, who knows? It's frightening to see. I think that's one reason why a lot of these things shouldn't be seen in the sky. They shouldn't be close to humans. They could be very dangerous to us.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, when you feel into it, what do you feel as to the intelligence, the consciousness behind?
I don't think it's horrible, but I don't like it either. I don't like it because I get a sense that it's definitely not. It's not safe, but it is what it is. It's showed itself. I think there's going to be more, and we may have to learn about these things. And if we do see them, we might have to just get out of the area.
Yeah, and when I was asking her about this and about the energies and the information coming, again, with Cindy, with her gifts and her psychic abilities, sometimes it could be disconcerting when you realize, again, and some timelines, it could be very scary when certain beings decide, heck, we're going to show ourselves.
It can be, and I saw someone mention that in chat. They really honestly, truly did not know how they would react if they did see another entity, within their proximity. And it's like, how are they going to cope with that? How are we going to deal with that? And I think we're so close. We are on the cusp of a lot of people finding that out for themselves.
And I'll throw out here, we talked about all the predictive programming of the movies. Well, how about all the movies like Independence Day, and all of a sudden humans are getting attacked from the sky? Of course, we've all heard of Project Bluebeam and that whole thing. But, again, we've all probably watched a sci-fi movie at some point in time when there's like these beings that are not human coming out of the sky and creating all sorts of chaos. So that's in our memory banks. And then how about our true DNA history? Barbara Handclough, who wrote a bunch of good books, she talked about catastrophobia, literally how so many people are not really necessarily getting visions of the future. They're having memories of the past, DNA memories of the past, of enormous cataclysms and destruction that happened to us from the sky in the past.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's just something that I think we're on the cusp of something. And when it comes to 3i Atlas, that's putting off a Fibonacci sequence, and it's bringing us into harmony. And not that there's anything wrong with harmony, but for harmony to occur, we need to know everything. We need to know who's around us. We need to know what's around us. We very well could be seeing some things, our visible spectrum begin to expand, which might be, I think that's been happening, but it could be on a larger scale. Oh, thank you, John and Jen. We appreciate it. And what'd she say? I can't read it over there.
Thank you for all you do.
Oh, no, sweetie. I know your situation, and that is a lot. Thank you so much. I know where you're at, and that's treasured. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you think about what's going on right now, a lot of people that didn't believe in any life anywhere but here, they're slowly being brought to the reality that maybe we're not alone, and maybe we haven't always been alone. And then they start to dig deeper. Then they realize, like I shared with you guys when I was 16, it was when I was 16 years old, Bible studying, that it came to me that these stories, these the God of the Old Testament and stuff. These are aliens. This is what they're talking. These are ultra-terrestrial beings. And, you know, it was when I was 16. So, I mean, that's 1981 that hit me. And thank you, dear Susan.
Thank you, dear Susan. And I just love you guys. You've been on this journey with us for so long. And, you know, things have been going on. And we've got to speak to so many of you and work on you and do sessions with you. It's just nice to see everyone in the chat. Thanks for showing up.
Wow. Ban Everything says that his older brother and I had a 3-hour missing time period after a bright blue orb hovered above his truck in 1973. Wow, I was 8 years old then. I remember 73 very well as a little kid. That was an interesting year for me.
There's Dave. Hi, Dave. We have a Dave sighting. Good to see you, Dave. I hope you're doing good over there. It's got to be pretty late for you. Thanks for coming in.
Much love, brother. Good to see you always. Yeah, you know, as we've said, I think way more people have had close encounters than probably realize. I think a lot of people block it. They block it out of their mind because it's uncomfortable. It's just uncomfortable to think about this. There's a lot of sightings in Latin America. And, you know, I just point that out because it just seems like, you know, I know Peru is a hot spot, and not just Peru, but over into Bolivia too. You know, we have all these amazing monolithic, megalithic structures. I have a friend, his name is Lucho. He grew up in Peru, not far from Nazca. And, you know, he shared with me that as kids, they would watch the ships, and they knew they were ships. They would go into the mountains. They would appear to disappear into mountains, but they knew they were going into the earth where there are bases. And the locals knew this. It wasn't a big mystery to them. So they accepted the reality of ultra-terrestrials. They knew it was a thing because they'd witnessed it all their lives. And they had the stories from their parents and their grandparents of interactions with different beings at times. And there were certain beings you had to be very careful of, especially those of a reptilian nature.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Sterling is saying, what are the shadows in the corner of your eyes? There is a scientific explanation for that with the rods and the cones and how they're situated in the eye. But in general, whatever they are, I usually don't like them. They're different from one person to the next, but I don't give them attention. No, I just don't.
All will be disclosed. 6/12/26. Wow. Yeah, this doesn't look like the same as the other Close Encounters of a Third Kind. This one, at least in the trailer, which just came out, looked kind of ominous and has an ominous feeling. And then it had a scene where this one lady is kind of being overshadowed.
Oh, yeah.
It's her that's being overshadowed, and she starts making some clicking sounds.
And that's what they do, too. They make clicking sounds. It can make it difficult to channel them unless you are making clicks and snaps and things of that nature.
Yes, and, you know, the ant people are very real, and there's also mantid beings that are very real. I guess you could say we were blessed to have interactions, or... You know, some people wouldn't call it a blessing. But yeah, there's a lot of different beings out there. That's the thing. They're not all good. They're not all bad. Most of them are kind of just watching Earth because it's a really interesting show.
So, Ben Everything says there was a major UFO incident in Mississippi. That's where we saw our situation happened. And
I would be curious, was it by Hattiesburg? Because that's where we were.
Yeah, that's where we had it. And then Kundalini King. Yeah, portals everywhere. Absolutely. They are everywhere.
Clones, cyborgs, and androids. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, you know, Susan had lost time. John and Jen had lost time. Think about that. I mean, it happens more often than we realize, I think.
Well, I think time can definitely shift when we're having certain experiences, and Aw, thank you, Robbie. We appreciate it. So much love, Brother Robbie. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Where were you in New Mexico, Jen? I'm curious. Yeah, we've been through a lot of New Mexico. It's definitely a favorite state. Just curious. So in this scene, she's holding some sort of technology that appears to be ultra terrestrial. A lot of people are already like just taking guesses, and we know that a lot of technology has been given to the different governments by different groups. Yeah, the timing is wild. We do deserve answers. People bring up the Book of Enoch again. It was included. It was something that was quoted from regularly, and yet it was not included originally in the Bible because, again, it's referring to that group, the Elohim and, angels. People will say they're fallen angels, but the definition that we have of an angel is a messenger of sorts. We could think of angels as non-physical beings, but there's all this distortion that's going on. And it confuses people, rightly so. It does confuse people. I think it's totally purposeful, the confusion. So this is going to be a fun movie for sure. And Cindy picked up immediately. Why are they doing this with the deer again?
Yeah.
Why are they doing it with the deer staring at us like they want to talk to us?
I know. And Lucid Farm said you would think different breeds of animals come from different star systems. Absolutely. So the few, or it was so gross, you guys. And I mean, around here, this is a sacred site where we are, and we are very respectful to the beings that are here. And I do think it was, one of those other entities that's kind of like something a little bit different and maybe curious about certain energies.
Well, we know we have mounds, like the mounds that are documented everywhere from Ohio down through the Mississippi. They're very, very common, but we do have one right around the street, which is even noted with metallic sign, just saying, this is a special mound. But then the neighbor that was here like all of his life told me that our yard, literally in the front yard, it had a mound. So, and they found arrowheads here all the time.
And, I think this was a very, very active place. And Mike and I would keep ending up in places that are quite active, and this is just like
quite
another level. Yeah.
How about this one? This is weird. 100-foot crewless ghost boat drifted through the Mukilteo terminal earlier this morning. I looked up what AI talks about this. This was a ferry terminal early on Thursday the 11th. It was crewless. It was a boat that it was identified as a commercial fishing boat, the Mary B. Feels like there should be some symbolism there. Broken free from its mooring at Sanko Fisheries Pier near Everett, this is in Washington, drifted up the Snohomish River to Puget Sound. Fortunately, the boat did not cause any damage to the terminal, and the ferry docked safely after carefully navigating around the unlit vessel using its floodlights. Wow, that's really weird. That was obviously dangerous.
Yeah.
And the event was described by observers as resembling the opening of a Stephen King movie.
See, and this was in that area, right?
Yeah.
It's in that area. And this is the other thing that I'm talking about. We had to really piecemeal this together. I don't know what a good title for this video would be, but I want people to see it because I feel that this should all be one title. Like, why are all these weird things happening? It should be covered by one place, but we've had to go all over the media to find this and put it together. It's crazy.
Very, very weird. Then you have an MIT nuclear science professor found, unfortunately deceased, in his home in a posh Massachusetts neighborhood. Nuno Loureiro, 47, found inside his Brookline house by police responding to reports of a man shot by 8:30. So an MIT professor, and Cindy wanted to know what was he studying. That was the thing that caught her attention. And let's see, what it was. What was it he was studying? Do you remember what I found, sweetie?
Yeah, he was studying plasma.
Oh, that's right. He was studying plasma.
I think he knew something. Okay,
yeah, he is a native of Portugal, member of the school's Department of Nuclear Science and Engineering and Physics, director of MIT Plasma Science and Fusion Center.
Yeah.
One of the university's largest labs with more than 250 full-time researchers. So I think Cindy was picking up it had something to do with what his topic of study was.
Yeah, I do too, and I think there was an accidental hiding there in the chat for John and Jen. Sorry about that. We'll get it fixed. So that happens. You know, you get a lot of people in chat and you just barely move the wrong finger and stuff happens. So.
And then how about silver? $64.66. Record all-time high. That's enormous. And especially at a time when you look at crypto is in the crapper. And that could turn around. But I think, again, the timing of everything financially is going along with the geopolitical changes and tensions. So we could see that. Silver, always has been undervalued. And in fact, it felt like it was artificially manipulated to keep the price lower.
It does, yeah. And we'll have to see what happens now. And we'll just... we'll just kind of watch. I do think things are going to change very, very soon in this year. How much of it are going to be visible to the masses, I don't know. But there has been a lot of change going on already.
Yeah, absolutely. Tons of change going on. Tons of change.
Mm-hmm.
So,
absolutely.
I think I might have gotten John and Jen back on.
Yeah, we're working on it. Sorry, guys. It's just so easy to hit that fat finger thing. Sorry about that.
4 super tankers reverse course as Trump's gunboat diplomacy against Venezuela accelerates. We all know what's going on over there. So, again, you have all eyes on Venezuela. It just feels like that one small country that begins with an I in the Middle East will be attacking another country that begins in an I shortly, especially after the events that happened down in Australia. But then you also have the awakening to historically how things have been manipulated in order to bring about reasoning for why things happen historically. So, again, I think, the ability to pull the wool over people's eyes is going to be taken away from a big chunk of the world. I think you just can't, once you know how things work, you know how an algorithm works.
You can't unknow it.
You can't unknow it. No. And thank you guys again for all the help with the thumbs up and, getting the videos out there so we can overcome any sort of algorithmic difficulties.
Yeah, see, Robbie said he didn't even touch it, and it's like they were hidden. So isn't that weird? This just happened after we were talking about that thing that was in Mike's phone. That's just so very weird.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very weird. And then here you see Brussels slams brakes on 2035 combustion engine ban. So the European Commission is preparing to retreat from its planned 2035 ban on new combustion engine car sales, yielding to pressure from Germany, Italy, and automakers struggling to compete with U.S. and Chinese rivals. Yeah, you see there's a lot of pushback. Again, they're doing certain things in certain places that are very 1984 Orwellian. But there's a lot of pushback. And the more we all speak up about it, the more we all say, hey, we don't want any part of this, the more they will have to retreat.
That's why I'm just so very happy about us coming together and you guys coming to see us, when we do go live. I think it's good for all of us. It boosts all of us.
Oh, absolutely. And then you have this huge ancient undersea wall dating to 5800 BC, discovered off the French coast. Yes, again, we do know that with the Younger Dryas period and those impacts that came in and caused cataclysmic devastation, literally wiping out a huge chunk of the life that was on the northern hemisphere of the planet at that time. It reshaped the whole, it reshaped societies. It wiped out so many different people, different cities, different towns. When you look at it now, most people live within 100 miles of a coastline. I think it's more than 2/3 of the world's population lives within 100 miles of the coastline. Well, we know, again, with the melting of the poles, the waters rose dramatically. And in fact, like when you look to Florida, during full Ice Age glaciation, Florida is like 4 times the width that it is right now. How many different societies, cultures, cities, and towns are buried just off our shores? A ton. What if something, again, happened, a big type of, let's hope it doesn't, cataclysm like that? Again, it's one of those things where you could realize that the civilization that we all know and are so familiar with could be kind of wiped away in a blink of an eye with certain events. And the realization that mud floods seem to happen, unfortunately, perhaps all too regularly.
I know, and Kundalini King says, my neighbor is John Moore, the U.S. Navy flood map guy. Oh my goodness sake. Well, I bet you that's good conversation. Maybe not always fun, but good.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, like our brother Dave was talking about, the UK was attached to the mainland at one point in time, and there's so much that's undersea now that was above the surface. We know this is the fact. So, we're at a time now where we're uncovering a lot of mysteries. 18,000 dinosaur tracks discovered along an ancient Bolivian coastline. Set a new record. Well, a lot of people say dinosaurs are fake. That they're not really dinosaurs, they were actually dragons. But then there's others that say, dinosaurs are real and dragons are not real. Again, I think a lot of times it's all of the above. And what were dinosaurs in reality?
I look at the indigenous, what they did on the rock, and a lot of them definitely put in stone that they saw dinosaurs. And that wasn't very long ago.
Yeah, and thank you, Frankie, Big Blue Pup.
Thank you, Frankie. We appreciate that.
That comment, Susan said, Cuba and the Caribbean isn't where it used to be. Do we really even know where things really are? Again, we're going off of maps that we're trusting in. And, when you look to some of the ancient past maps, it's easy enough to say they didn't have knowledge. They didn't know what the real lay of the land was. But there's so many of them that show very, very similar ideas, and then later on it changes. Mm-hmm. And so you got to wonder, what is possible with technology? Is there technology out there that could sink entire islands, maybe even continents, basically in the blink of an eye? You got to wonder. You really got to wonder. With the dinosaur thing, it was interesting because we did get information from the guides that the dinosaurs literally were brought here and created by reptilian beings that used dinosaurs as both cattle, like humans use cows and pigs and sheep, and then they also used them as pets and even entertainment. When we think back to Rome and the gladiators fighting lions and bears and things like that. Yeah, again, reptilian entertainment, having different species face off against maybe something like a velociraptor. Pretty wild stuff, but I think our history is really much more imaginative. Things of the imagination that are actually real and based on fact. I think, again, our history is much more like a sci-fi movie.
Ben, everything. It sounds like you live in a pretty fun area there in Louisiana. My goodness sake, size 12. Wow, that's interesting. After a big flood in Louisiana Creek, I found a sandstone slab with barefoot human footprints. Interesting.
Yeah, what part of Louisiana are you in? Be curious to know. It's close to the Mississippi. So, it's interesting. Bolivia appears to be a hotspot. Texas is a hotspot. And Colorado and Utah for dinosaurs. These were hotspots. And so, I think what you're looking at is areas that had a lot of reptilian activity underway.
Yeah, I believe so too. Definitely. I mean, they've been around.
Then you have a massive rock structure discovered deep beneath Bermuda Island. Some are making it out like it's an artificial construct, but when you read into the article, it's talking about, the thinnest crust is usually in the oceans. But what you have is an area of very, very thick crust under Bermuda, which to me, initially, right away, I think, well, it just shows you that maybe there was more of a continent there at one point in time.
Thank you so much, Miss Xenomorphet. We appreciate that. And she says, thank you so much for sharing the news in a way I'm comfortable receiving it. I like that. And this is why we do it, because there's a lot of really strange things out there. And it's hard. It's hard sometimes to accept it and bring it into your energy field. And sometimes it's painful, and we do our best to do that. And then plus what I really like is at the end, we always have a prayer and an intent for coming together for everyone to just have a better life and a better experience. So thank you, Jen.
Yes, thank you, Jen. We love you and appreciate you. So, when I look to this, they say that what you have here is more typical of a continental crust depth. But again, we know that there were islands that went under. There were, perhaps continents that went totally under. So with the crust thicker under Bermuda, more like you would see with a continent, does it lend a little more credence to Atlantis?
Does it? I think things are here in the United States. I think things are way crazier than they say. I mean, as far as all the other places there are to go experience strangeness, I think we are where it's at.
How about these? Have you guys ever seen these radium heaters? Radium. You find the weirdest things in advertisements from like the 1910s, 20s, and 30s. Do you want a small lump of fuel which will heat your home for thousands of years? What? Requiring no attention or replenishing? Fires go out, hot water cools, ice melts, but a gram of radium keeps constantly from 8 to 10 degrees hotter than its surroundings. A small thimble of radium generates in 26 days enough heat to raise a pint of water from freezing to boiling. In winter, the average 6-room furnace heat at home requires 2 tons of coal a month. 1 cubic foot of radium would take the place of this amount of coal, and centuries would pass before the rate of heating diminished appreciably. This is wild. Again, when you look to so many old fireplaces in, very old mansions and houses, it's almost like you look at them and they really weren't looking to let out smoke. So is this again pointing to different technologies that they will not let us have now that we had before?
I think there's so many things out there. It's very frustrating. They could let us have it. And I am hoping with 3i Atlas doing what it's doing, it's going to bring a little bit of an equalizing type of energy.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think the control system likes Three Eye Atlas. I wouldn't be surprised if they found something to blame on Three Eye Atlas at some point in time.
Right, yeah.
I could see them doing that.
Well, it comes out of Sagittarius, which I thought was really interesting too. And then this new
That's
moon.
the Archer.
Yeah, and it has everything to do with justice and, creating fairness in the world. And then this new moon, when Three Eye Atlas is on its closest approach, just happens to be in Sagittarius. And again, I do Vedic astrology, so it's going to be different for some people, but I find that is so symbolic to me.
Yes, and the red sprites, which again, these are conscious entities. And this is why they've been showing up more and more in these times, because a lot of entities will be showing themselves in these times. Many of them are very benevolent, much, much higher levels of consciousness.
Wow, and a presidential address is scheduled tomorrow night. Things that make you go,
We'll see what he comes out with. There's lots of stuff coming from the Polish psychic. Again, he doesn't see the T-Man being in there to ring in the 2027 New Year. And he actually came out, the Polish psychic Krzysztof Jatkowski, he said that there's going to be major elections in 2026 in the United States, and it'll be the most important election that the United States has ever had in its history in 2026. So what could possibly bring on that level of election in an off year? There's got to be some sort of major event that happens if he's to be really truly seeing the timeline that we're on, that would remove Trump from power, that they would call new elections. Call new elections? I mean, that's something that it's hard to conceive of what could possibly do that, because you would think if he steps down, then it'll just simply be Vance, and then you have to wonder who would be the VP. I don't know. We'll see. I think we're going to be in for quite a wild ride.
Mm-hmm. It is, and it came out of Sagittarius, and then the new moon is in Sagittarius. That's what I was referencing. So
yeah, a lot of people are picking up that he's sick, but it was interesting. I mean, Cindy was looking at, again, there might be a bunch of different Trumps out there too. That's part of the big reveal of what's going on. Who knows if you're looking at the original or not.
Yeah, there's so much going on right now, you guys. And really what hit me out of this whole video was that darn ghost ship in that area, and bringing together that with the levee breaking in the area and the other things that are happening. And the sighting. Was there a sighting, or didn't we have another sighting, or is that going to be a different? There was another sighting in the area. I don't think we have it up right now, but it was all like 4 different really crazy things right in that area where, one of our dear friends is she energetically, she's feeling like really strange, just way off. And she can tell it's outside of her. It's not inside of her.
Yeah. I do feel like things are going to go kind of bonkers, maybe sometime, around the solstice. We'll see. People are definitely feeling it.
And we are at the end.
Yes, and Cindy's going to do some dings.
We're going to do some dings and prayers and send some energy out to those who need it. And I'm so glad there's a lot of people in the room. I'm going to do some dings and I'm going to do some patterning. I still want to put the energy out there for Lori and Steve. Send them some prayers, and we have some other EEARTS family members that are going through some struggles. Please, let's keep them in our thoughts as well. And you guys, I want you to think some happy thoughts and take some deep breaths, find a focus, and we're going to do some dings and then a patterning. And we're going to put out there that we want a better world. We want a more fair world. We want a world where that we can be free and be at peace and not be contained or controlled or manipulated or lied to. We want something different. So here we go. I'm going to do the patterning now. You guys are probably not going to hear it, but you're going to feel it. And while I'm doing that, I want to say a thank you to John and Jen, Robbie, Susan, Frankie, and our other Jen for your support, and everyone else in their own way. But here we go. Take some deep breaths. You might feel this. Okay, may you guys have peace, love, understanding, a really wonderful Christmas. I do hope that we talk before then, and give all your puppies and kiddos a hug.
Much love, guys. Loka samasta suki no bhavantu. May all beings everywhere be happy and free, and may my thoughts, actions, words, and deeds contribute to that freedom and happiness.
Source bless and namaste.
Namaste.